President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu today returned to Nigeria after over a month away in Europe. Bola Tinubu said he's hale and hearty at the time when he got back to his residence in Asokoro area of Abuja. He says, contrary to speculations that he is being seriously ill. The aircraft that conveyed Mr. Tinubu touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja at about 4:30 p.m. He was officially out of Nigeria on the 22nd of March and returned about a month after before his inauguration, which is scheduled to take place on the 29th of May 2023. Tinubu returned with his wife, Senator Oluremi, and they were received by the Vice President-elect, Kashim Shettima, the Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Fembeja Biamila, among other many high-ranking members of the party. Let's take a look at a timeline of Bola Tinubu's in the past weeks and what has happened. Bola Tinubu was one of the 15 or so presidential candidates who went into that election. And on the 1st of March, after about 2-3 days after that election, he was declared as a winner of that election by INEC. And on the 1st of March, the same day, INEC issued himself and his running mate certificates of return. And on the 22nd of March, Bola Tinubu jets out of Nigeria for what some of his party loyalists and supporters say it was just a moment for him to go and take some rest after weeks of campaigns and election activities. And today, 24th of April, Bola Tinubu returns to Nigeria. Ismail Ahmed is a senior special assistant to President Muhammadu Buhari on special intervention. He was as a former national youth leader of the APC and a former member of the Board of Trustees of the APC. He'll be speaking with me from our Kano studio on the return of Bola Tinubu to Nigeria. Thank you so much, Ismail, and apologies for the glitch earlier with the communication. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I was asking earlier. Thank you very much for having me. I saw a lot of leaders of your party who went to the airport to receive Mr. Tinubu. Is this more than just a foreign trip for him?
What else can it be shown? First of all, Eid Mubarak to all our viewers. But, you know, Sean, what else can it be? It was a foreign trip. It was a time for the president-elect to go and take some time off and rest. And I have said it, you know, on this program several times during the campaign season that there's no candidate that had worked as hard as he did since we flagged off the campaign in the, you know, towards the end of September, and we flagged it off. President Muhammadu Buhari, as the chairman of the campaign council, flagged it off in early October. It has been a marathon. It was a complete marathon. We've been running from one place to another. We went to all the states. And it was non-stop. Even when he went to Chatham House in December, it was basically a walking tour. So it was a full schedule of a lot of work, about 4 or 5 months of intensive and grueling campaign, as you're well aware of, and rightly so. And we touched on every point. We did the rallies, we did the town hall meetings, he met with people, he did the backdoor works, and did a lot of work. So it was an intense and grueling campaign. And after that, we had to focus, he had to focus especially. He told all of us to go back home and focus on the gubernatorial elections. He moved to Lagos, and it was another non-stop work because, of course, at the presidential election, we lost Lagos, and we needed to work hard on it for the gubernatorial and so many other states as well. And that's what happened. So after that, he took some time off. So it's very usual for party members to celebrate, you know, the return of a president-elect or governor-elect, as the case may be in some cases. I remember in 2015 with President Muhammad Buhari, after he was elected, before he was sworn in, he took a private trip to London, to the United Kingdom, and when he came back, I and so many other people also thronged to the international airport to welcome him back. So it's absolutely normal. It's not unusual. And on the one hand, there are a lot of people complaining that that we didn't celebrate enough, you know, after we won, and now we're celebrating. People are saying, why are we all thronging to welcome him back? So it was simple. It was simply a trip for him to go and reflect and take stock. That's all.
Ismail, I'm very sure that you're one person that understands what optics is all about in politics. Mr. Tinubu had said he's hale and hearty. There are speculations, of course, about the state of his health, and that's why I'm saying the kind of jubilation or the kind of welcoming that he got at the airport today, that's what I'm asking. How often do we see people being welcomed at the airport if there are no other things that may be the undercurrent that a lot of Nigerians may not be aware of? The optics perhaps is in the opposite.
I told you exactly what it is. Nigerians, party members especially, and leaders of the party, just welcome the president-elect. It's a president-elect. How often do you get president-elects, you know, coming back to the country that people do not go and welcome them? I think that's the question you should be asking. How many president-elects have you known
perhaps it's
that have traveled to go and take some time off and come back that people have not gone and welcomed them and celebrated? I just gave you an example that in 2015 we celebrated and we went and we welcomed cheerfully. You know, we welcomed President Muhammad Buhari before he was sworn in. What was wrong with that? Nobody said anything. And if for the and he said he was hale and hearty. Of course, he is hale and hearty. We've always known he's hale and hearty. And I think you've had people high up in the campaign. For example, the Minister of Works and Housing was on your show, and you asked him the same question, and he told you he had spoken to the president-elect a week before he appeared on your television, and he told you clearly that the man was fine and he was hale and hearty, and he just needed to take some time off, take stock of what's going on.
So it's my apologies if I may just yeah. So the question is, when you say how often, I mean the question would then be why the speculation about his state of health? Have you thought about that? Why are people speculating about his state of health?
I cannot be responsible for people's speculation. People just speculate because there are people who are cynics and naysayers who just want to always bring negative stories to certain situations. You know, his health issue has always been something that people talked about even during the campaign. You know, so when we shamed them, and when he shamed them in particular, by being everywhere at the same every state, by going to every town hall that we have that was organized by him, by the campaign council, by doing everything and ticking all the boxes and making sure and working really hard, they still wouldn't want to be convinced. So I cannot be responsible for people who just want to speculate on certain things that has no basis in fact. I cannot be responsible for that. And if you are going to ask me this question 100 times in different ways, it's going to be the same answer. He is hale and hearty. You've seen him when he left very well. He left in the way that, you know, that he didn't live in an ambulance, he didn't live in anything. There's no evidence anywhere that the man was sick. He came back, hale and hearty, but party people went to receive him, just like they would if Sheun Okimbaloye tomorrow is elected president-elect, and you take a trip to one of those trips that you take on holidays, and you come back, you know, I'm sure your party members and your supporters would go and welcome you. If you're going to ask me this question 100 times in different ways, it's going to be the same answer. The man is hale and hearty, he's back into the country, and that's it.
Interesting. Perhaps it might be a different case if your candidate and the president-elect chose to go elsewhere for vacation, maybe in the walls of this country, maybe the speculation might be different, or maybe there might not even be any speculation about a state of health. Just maybe.
I don't think there's any way he would have gone that the people that want to speculate wouldn't have speculated. I just told you that during the campaign season, while he was out there campaigning from state to state, from Kebbi to Kano, from Borno to Bayelsa, from Lagos to Gombe, when he was campaigning, it was live on TV, people were seeing it, and still some people were saying that that the man was not hale and hearty. And you had the case of President Muhammadu Buhari, who was here in the country, running the country as Muhammadu Buhari. You still had some people in the sections, on the fringes of the society, saying that, no, this is not Muhammadu Buhari, this is somebody else from Sudan and stuff like that. So you live in a country and an information age where people just sit down in the comfort of their rooms and just concoct all kinds of stories and spew it, and people just keep grappling on them without any evidence of fact.
Ismail, the president-elect has said he's ill and hearty, contrary to speculations about his ill health, that he was seriously ill. He was saying this in Asokoro earlier in Abuja, and he said that he's prepared for his inauguration on the 29th of May, and Mr. Tinubu also said that he's still consulting over those that will be part of his government. But, I mean, there is now a law signed by the president mandating constitutionally a president to send the nomination of his cabinet members to the legislature in 2 months and 60 days. Same thing with the governors. And so the question now is, politics is over. We're now being faced with the issues of governance. We're counting down to the day of inauguration. Nigerians are really waiting for the delivery of the promises of Bola Tinubu that he made. You and the leaders of the party, you guys made a lot of promises at the campaign. How serious and how ready are you guys for governance?
Absolutely, we are. I think that's part of the reason. I think Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if you looked at his manifesto, his policy document, his campaign promises, his stump speeches, those were deliberate action plans. They're not just flimsy utopian promises. These are not promises that are not deliberately thought through on how we can deliver them. And he's well aware of that. So we are ready for the inauguration. We're ready for governance. We're taking over from ourselves, so to speak, we'll pick up, and improve on places where we have done a lot of work, and there are so many places where a lot of work has been done, and where we have faltered in the last 8 years, we try to correct them, because now benefit of hindsight, which is said to be 2020, the vision is 2020, based on hindsight, we'll pick up. So I think he's ready. He's taken stock. He is responsible for the promises he has made. We'll all be held responsible and accountable at the end of the day, and I think he's ready to hit the ground running. And if there's one thing that I can almost be absolutely certain of, is that this president-elect would not waste time at all in constituting his cabinet and some of the key positions in his administration to help him walk through it.
It would be good to know that Tondo is not striking in the same spot twice, in the sense of in the composition of a cabinet, just as we saw in 2015. But one thing that is very fundamental here, Ismail, and let me leak this secret to you in case you're not aware, what is going on in town. I will tell you, without you having to pay for this information, is the fact that Nigerians said they were no longer interested in excuses for governance. In 2015 and even in 2019, your party you were quick to give the excuse that the PDP had left this country in shambles and they had left governance in tatters, and that's the reason why you guys found it difficult to get things going. But Bola Tinubu and his friends at the campaign that promised Nigeria that they were going to bring renewed hope and they're going to raise the economy, fix the security, do this, pay free education, do this and that. I mean, the word out there is that there won't be chance for any excuse. The pressure is going to be very intense. Are you guys aware?
We're not willing to give any excuses. And besides, I don't think it was excuses in 2015 and 2016 and 2017 when we started off. But in the Buhari administration, those were not excuses, actually. Those were really factual issues that confronted us, you know, that hit us right in the face, and it hit the Buhari administration right in the face. Yes, we may not have started as quickly as we should have in 2015. But I don't think at that time there were excuses. I think we had serious problems. We had problems with revenue. We had a lot of issues in terms of security, and everybody knew that. So, you know, it took time for the government to pick up its gauntlet and be able to start implementing its own policies based on some of the several and multiple ways it started sourcing for revenue, and to be able to meet up with the expenditure and the demands that confronted, you know, the administration at that time. But yeah, you know, we are not going to give any excuses again. We do not have that latitude any longer. I think we are well aware of that. We're not going to kid anyone that you know, there are tough times, and we've made promises, and knowing fully well what we're getting ourselves into. And then there will be no excuses, not even to ourselves. We're not going to give ourselves those excuses. Talking about giving Nigerians those excuses. So Nigerians should be prepared to support this administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to understand that, yes, we are going to have to deal with very serious challenges as well. Just like everything in life, these challenges keep evolving. Those that evolve will have to adapt and be able to deal with them as we go along. But yeah, there will be no excuses. Yes, if we had issues, we would be able to come out and explain to them. And the president would be willing to come out and explain where there are clear issues. But there would be no excuses. There would be an absolute deliberate method and plan to be able to deliver on the promises we've made and to be able to move this country forward.
I mean, yourself, a young person, whether I should say you're not getting any younger, but then you perhaps
No, I'm not a young person any longer, Shane, I told you. I'm 43 now.
You are not a youth any longer, but you're a young person. Even those...
yeah, okay, I'm not a youth, that's right.
Yeah, so the question is that there is a youthful anger in the land, and a lot of them who are looking for every opportunity to leave Nigeria. If you look at the rate of unemployment in Nigeria is 33.3%. You look at inflation figures, they are in the double digits. You look at the insecurity in the country, hundreds of our innocent citizens are being killed every day, and perhaps these have increased the kind of anger in the land, and a lot of young persons are not happy, and they see an average politician as those guys who just faff around in the corridors of power. I mean, there are those who think that Bola Tinubu will have to earn it, the trust of Nigeria, by performing well. Are you guys aware of that youthful anger and the high expectations of average Nigerian?
I don't think you would even classify it as youthful anger like that, because there are a lot of young people. I think the majority of the millions of votes that the APC and President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu got was from young people as well. It was not from older people or anything like that. I think the huge bulge, I think the voting population generally in 2023 are largely young people. So as much as there are young people who voted against the APC, there are a lot more young people that voted for the party. But rightfully so. Let me get to the point of saying that, you know, there are a lot of people who are feeling dampened, you know, over the course of decades of mismanagement. It's not about this last 8 years. It's about decades of mismanagement of different and several governments, you know, that have simply refused to do the right things when the opportunities presented themselves. And I think people got fed up, and I think younger people who are coming behind us, especially the generation coming after our own generation, are not as patient, you know, because they do not have the experience that we had when we were growing up, for example, or the older ones or the generation before us. So impatience is growing, information is becoming more available, the ability to travel is becoming a lot easier, the greener pastures and the ability to see the so to speak greener pastures on the other side is becoming more visible, more clearer to a lot of people, so they feel it's easier for them to jump and go to Canada because the visa process is easier, or to the UK or whatever. But I think there's a pent-up, not anger, I would say, but a certain frustration and some sort of hopelessness that comes from being outside the cycle of what's happening. And I think that's what a lot of young people feel pent up and frustrated about. And I think one of the promises that the president made very clearly is that he understands that. And even after he won the election, I think in his acceptance speech, he mentioned it. He said, look, you know, I understand what's going on. You know, there's been an election that, you know, we won, but, you know, if you put the opposition parties together, you know, their votes was much more than ours. You know, that's a clear message. And he said, I heard that message. And these are largely from young people who feel as if, no, we don't want the status quo. We don't want people who have been in authorities before, even though they are, you know, most of them voted for the same people that have been in authorities before. But yeah, you know, he said he got the message, and they were working towards making sure that we're able to roll back,
all right,
you know, and give hope. That's why the policy document was named Renewed Hope. And I think he said, and he made it very clear, and he's spoken to some of us who he has spoken to either privately or in gatherings, that look, you know, we need to be able to communicate and engage young people and know exactly what they want, so that we don't sit in our high tables and just decide that this is what is going to go for young people. Yeah. So I think he is very aware of that, and it's an issue that he wants to tackle headlong.
Yeah, so I just have about 30 or 40 seconds to go, but I know you're a bourgeois, so it might be difficult for you to know what some of us in the other
No. I absolutely do not agree with that label. I absolutely do not agree with that label. What is a bourgeois? Why am I a bourgeois?
You're an elite. You are an elite. You are in that class of the society.
Because I have a law degree?
No, but let me tell you,
because I have a law degree?
There is huge poverty in the land, Ismail. There is huge poverty in the land. NBS says that,
you think I don't know that?
More than about half of the nation's population is poor. In fact, they say over 153 million people are multidimensionally poor in this country. What do you think Bola Tinubu will do on the very first day in office to ameliorate the pains and the poverty that Nigerians are expecting, those who do not even have hope of what they will feed on tonight?
Well, I don't know if there's any silver bullet that will immediately eliminate poverty immediately, you know, on the first day. There's nothing like that. You know, places like America and the UK are still dealing with high levels of poverty, you know, in different sectors or different portions of their society as well. But let me tell you this. I think the president-elect really understands that the job of a government is not to say give jobs to people directly. The job of a government is to create a conducive environment so that jobs can be created and people can be employed. You know, he also understands, and he always says this, he also understands that there is no way a large country like Nigeria would continue to run on a pay-all cash economy. So if you want to buy a bulb, if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a motorcycle or a bicycle, for example, you would have to cough up the 100% of that cash and lay it down before the owner will release it to you. And he said, look, there's no society that could grow a middle class and be able to lift people out of poverty with that kind of brutal way of survival. And then he also mentioned that the informal economy, because if you look at, for example, last year, if you look at the same statistics,
we're totally out of time.
If you look at it, there are people like, if you open fish joints or Brazilian hair that people buy, $2 billion, $5 billion.
We're totally out of time,
It's not reflected in the formal economy. So I think those are the things that he would focus on how to create an enabling environment for people to get jobs. And I think that's the starting point.
Ismail Ahmed, lawyer, and as I said, to President on special intervention and former national youth leader of the APC. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight on the program.